If you're currently in law school and wondering how to handle those pesky law school interviews and the questions that come with them, well then this video is for you. As a lawyer myself, I'll be discussing some of my tips and tricks on how to do well in law school interviews when it comes to one question in particular. And this was a question I found especially tricky myself navigating the law school interview world. And it's also a question that almost always is asked as the first question in a law school interview. For those of you that are new to the channel, my name is Pamela Metani. I'm the principal lawyer and founder here at Graphene Business Law, a law firm providing business law services to entrepreneurs and business owners virtually and across Ontario. We have a few other series on this channel, including this one meant for law school students, a time of life which certainly holds a place near and dear to my heart and means so much to some of us that are now practicing lawyers. Now, I think it's really hard to go through law school without needing to freshen up on your interview skills and practicing how to do well in an interview. There's so many opportunities for interviews in law school. There's first-year internships, which are more rare, certainly, but some people still get them. There's the second year OCIs, of course, and then there's articling, and there's also positions that come up throughout the years, including, non-conventional legal positions, but that are still vetted by, the career center at your law school. And long story short, it's always a good idea to stay on top of your skills. I want to get straight to the question at hand today, and then I'm going to say, I'm going to share some other bonus insights and comments, if you will, after we go through this one question. But, I'm like itching to start with this question because it was one of my most hated law school interview questions. Not that it's inherently complex when you're asked it. I mean, it's literally the first question they ask you, and that is, tell us a bit about yourself. There's variations of this question, how did you hear of us? Why are you interested in us? What makes you a great candidate? And so on and so forth. But the big picture, tell us a bit about yourself, I think is a solid, there's a solid chance that's going to be the first question you receive in an interview. For a lot of industries, but especially in law school, again, I've lived that truth myself. I know it happens for a fact. Why do I find this question is tricky, and why is it such a, skin rash on type of question for me personally? I think this question is tricky because at its surface, this question is asking you nothing about your skills, your merit, your accomplishments, anything that, makes you a strong candidate for the position. Now, we're going to get into it in a minute. You should answer the question in a way that incorporates everything I just mentioned, but at its surface, tell us a bit about yourself. Well, what about myself? It's such a broad question that I almost feel it's an unfair place to start. I know that law firms mention, or they try to put out this, aroma of personality matters and fit matters and this and that. And, I certainly have a lot of comments on that. I mean, a lot of comments on that. Maybe I'll save it for another video. But at the long story short, as a lawyer and as Pam myself, I don't really think anybody cares at all about, you, like your life story. Who cares? People, it's the skills that matter. But these are questions that, people ask them, firms ask them, so now every firm feels obliged to ask them, and then they're putting some sort of, HR person or whatever kind of person in charge of asking these questions. And the question itself makes me, you can tell it bothers me because it's like, who cares? You don't care about me. So don't ask me a question you don't care about. You're wasting my time, you're wasting your time. And at the end of the day, almost exclusively, this question will be used against you. Okay? I remember I went to law school, there was this, very happy kind of fellow who would answer this question talking about how he's one of 3 siblings, he's the eldest, he has 2 sisters. Who cares? This question is such a minefield because there's 1,000,001 ways to get it wrong. And I think, myself as an employer, when I am looking to hire, I'm looking for skills. What do you bring to the table? What are you capable of? What have you accomplished? What can you do? So just ask that question instead of tell me a bit about yourself. I'm not saying there's no place for chit-chat style, warmer questions in an interview, but I would go so far as to say that they don't need to be in question format. You can have a chat at the end, for example. I would advise employers to do so and say, hey, we went through all this stuff about your skills and your competencies, but how are you doing? What outside of work, what do you enjoy doing for fun? Questions like that we've passed the interview stage and we're trying to close the last few minutes of an interview and maybe get a feel for the social or fit of this applicant, but it shouldn't be part of the interview question itself. Tell me a bit about you. What? Where do you start? With the year you were born? High school, middle school, law school? If you start, law, do you start yesterday? That's too recent. Did you not have a life prior to yesterday? See what I mean? It's a minefield of a question. Long story short, it's a question that, unless you're applying to work for me, if you're applying for almost everybody else, you're going to get this question. And we have to find a way to navigate even tricky questions, even yucky questions, okay? So what are my tips on how to answer what I honestly deem like the most tricky interview question of all time, because of all the 1,000,001 ways there are to get it wrong, and the fact that I don't think it applies to anything anyway. So it's a waste of a time. I'm moving my mouth muscles for nothing type of question. Okay, how do you answer this? Personally, my recommendations to you are that you find ways to incorporate your educational and work experience in a way that translates into what? It's not enough to stop at what you've done and how great it is. You are selling during the interview, and what you're selling is you. So you need to then, after you've talked about the few sentences of how great your education and work experience is, push it out and package it, into that home run of why this great experience will make you a great employee for the company or firm or whatever you are applying for. That's the final push. And you're going to do that with each experience, okay? What do I mean by each experience? Not literally each experience of your life, because remember, nobody cares. You're trying to hit the notes that they're looking for, okay? Hard work, attention to detail, previous experience with something legal goes without saying, research and writing abilities in a law setting goes without saying, critical and creative thinking, that's something I really look for as well, goes without saying. I don't want a student that they're looking at something tough, their knees start shaking. Look at something tough, figure out a way to do it, come to me. If you've done it wrong, who cares? You're a student. If you come to me with nothing, that's a little, did you even try? So creative thinking, I'd rather you be creative into getting something wrong 100 times, because at least you're exercising creativity, than you just sit there and come to me with nothing as an employer, okay? And I'm guessing a lot of other employers are the same. So with those experiences, remember I said for each experience, you're going to try and package it in a way that drives home why that makes you good for them. How many experiences do you talk about? A good rule of thumb, I think, is 3 to 5 experiences, depending on the pace at which you speak. If you're going like this, talking about one experience is going to kill 5 minutes. And then if you talk to maybe, slow that down so that you can, because otherwise you're going to need to stuff 20 experiences in there. So I would pick 3 to 5. If you're in law school, depending on the year you're in and you're applying for, it might be that law school itself is one of those experiences for you. and somewhere in there, depending on how long you've been in school, so maybe you don't have too much of the educational to speak about, you incorporate a few extracurriculars. It goes without saying, you are going to mention at least, one or two work experience items in your little spiel, okay? Now, the sprinkling comes into what they call a STAR method of answering interviews. I'm sure you've heard this if you're in law school, just like you've heard about the IRAC method of answering law school exam questions. What does the STAR method stand for? I'm literally looking at it here. Situation, task, action, and result. Long story short, paint this picture of, this obstacle you had, how you handled it, and what that resulted in. Keep in mind, I keep reiterating because there's a structure to this and I want you to get the structure. You show up, you get asked, tell us a bit about yourself. You pick 3 to 5 life experiences. It might be the case that you have an extraordinary personal experience that doesn't even have to do with law school or education. If you do, you know yourself best, it might be a really good idea to mention that, okay? For the average applicant, we're going to be sticking to 3 to 5 life/work/education experiences, okay? When you speak about these experiences, you're going to say a sentence or two on what they were and a sentence or two on how you can bring that quality that you gained from that experience, that skill, to the table of your employer, future potential employer. I would suggest you then pick one of these while you're saying it. So don't say all 5 and then go back to one for the STAR method. While you're saying it, select one of these experiences, maybe 2, but keep it simple, 1, and apply the STAR method to one of these experiences, right? If we're doing 3 to 5 and then each comes 4 prongs of STAR, remember situation, task, action, and result, it's like 20, 30 points you need to hit. Don't do that to yourself. So pick one of them and split that into the 4 prongs of the STAR method. It might be a work experience when there was a special project to work on and you saved the day. It might be, colleague, a difficulty, a conflict in the workplace where, through communication and creative thinking and empathy, you saved the day. Find something, bounce that idea off with a friend or a member of the career services at your school, literally a free service for you to use. They are sitting there waiting for you to knock on their door, email them, run through something with them, run through example interview questions with them. Use that resource and apply the STAR method to that one. Okay. Cough break. I'm gonna leave it there for that one tricky, annoying interview question. I think the feedback I've just shared, the suggestions I've just shared will go a really long way. I know that this, I don't know how many minutes we're at, but I know this could be a 5-hour seminar on law school interview questions, because I can already anticipate the follow-ups of what if I don't have much to talk about and this and that. You always have something to talk about. Find it and embellish it, okay? How are we having, 30-page law case results, written decisions when the ratio is like 1 sentence? How? Do that to your life story, okay? Do that to the one point that you picked to apply the STAR method on. Take the few extra sentences, flesh it out. Everybody has gone through difficulties in work and with education and in life experience. We all have, I guarantee you have that hump story in your examples of work and life experience, okay? So take your time, parse it out, find the one that you think will be most applicable to the workplace you're applying to. And also, try to preserve some authenticity as to you. At the end of the day, real sells the best. And if, the buyer or the employer, on the other hand, picks up on your real, on your authenticity, and that's what they want, there's such a higher chance that you have found somewhere that's going to be a safe workplace for you, an enjoyable workplace for you, and a meaningful workplace for you. Okay? So I hope that's one, question I can anticipate kind of handled. Now, I know there's so much to talk about law school interviews, and I'll put out more videos in the future. The point of this is not to talk about every single law school interview question, But I do want to end it with a message on, even if you do your best, you know, you've watched this video, you've watched other videos, you've talked to the law center, law career center, whatever, there's still a chance you're not going to get a call back, okay? That's life, okay? That's life. It's not necessarily speaking to you. That position might have been saved for somebody before you even applied, and the interviews were just a formality, okay? The employer might have gone with somebody that, you know, they bonded more over something ridiculous. Like, I remember I went to an interview once. I was asked three questions. One was the one I just talked about in this video. I've been asked that question every single time. And the other two questions were favorite book and favorite movie. Guess what? I didn't get a call back. You know, because my favorite movie doesn't align with your favorite movie, a ridiculous way to filter candidates, ridiculous, assuming it was even genuine and that employer didn't already have somebody picked out and was just wasting my time and theirs, okay? There are some ridiculous questions I can almost guarantee you will get, but I can almost guarantee that you will get this question of the video focused on every single time. I'm gonna stop the video there. If you have any questions, you know, we always welcome student, and of course, if you're a business owner or entrepreneurs that watch this video, then, you know, we certainly welcome your contacts as well. info@graphingbusinesslaw.ca and our website, graphingbusinesslaw.ca. You're not alone. These are questions we all get. These are steps we all take, and there's a silver lining for everybody that sticks at it long enough and that works hard enough, okay? Your good day of law school employment, and of course the legal career after that will come, okay? So deep breath, thank you for watching, and go think about those 3 to 5 work and school life experiences you'd like to bring up in the horrendous but totally anticipated about you question, and which one of those 3 to 5 points you'll be applying the STAR method to. Thank you for watching.